Hello!
Hi!
Hi!
Hi! Oh, I gotta turn mine down.
Oh, was it super bright?
Oh, I'm just super loud.
Oh, right, because Jen is always super quiet over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jen
Hi.
sits here. So if I go on Jen volume, everybody hates me.
Oh.
Hi.
Hi, everyone.
Hi. Turn the chair off. Turn chair off. Turn the chair
Is it
off.
not working? You should just
Chair
be able to hit
off.
chair. Yeah. Hi,
Off.
everyone.
Face on.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm
You crazy bastages.
crazy bastages. Nothing but the crazy bastages today.
Oh my god, look at all the small things.
He's looking at all the teeny tiny mans.
He's absurdly crazy.
I have a few more crews of tiny mans that need to be painted and glued upon things.
Ho, ho, ho.
But that's not going to happen today, I don't think.
Jason got a tan? I did? Where?
You got a tan?
I don't know. Did I?
So I think priority number one for today is for me to figure out what these bases all need to look like. Because I'm not in love with this. It's kind of got that sickly green look from the khaki. I'm not in love with it. I am a fan, however, of how I did all these little mans. With the dark bronze, a little bit of silver. Or I think it was dark silver with a kind of a zenithal of silver. And the little red accents. I like it.
This camera color looks goofy.
It is a little overexposed, it looks like.
I don't know what they do over here. It
I
ain't tuned for me, that's for sure.
I do like this base, though. That base looks good. We want to do this base. So, I think that involves some olive flesh in my life. That was the color that I used last night. It helped. And hello, everyone. Paint Liquor, Lumberjack Tim, what's up? Death from Impulsor, hello. Mercer, Phoenix, hello. Scrumbly Dumpus, Tiny Mans indeed. Wad Tomato, hello. T. Schmidt, hello, hello. I am not going to paint skulls on their shoulder pads. We're not going to do that. Oh my gosh! Now
I'm just a floating head in the dark.
Floating head in the dark. Yeah, I'm not even using decals on the shoulder pads. Those shoulder pads are going to be nice and just black. I might do the hazard striping on the shoulder pads just to make them look more Iron Warriors-y. Needs a little bit more love in that direction, I believe. Alright, so if I recall what I did here, I did a dry brush of olive flesh, and then I did a wash with brown.
Oh, we just got to deal with you looking funny. I think they've done some like color correction or something in the camera itself. I don't have all that open, so I don't know what to do.
Yeah, alright. So we're gonna let that base dry a little bit.
We could make me like that color.
Oh, blue. You're
I could
a
be
whatchamacallit.
that color. I will be the purple man today. Gonna be green? Ooh. I could be like weird lady.
Well,
What is
you're
the
a White Walker.
I am green.
Make yourself blue, and then you become a White Walker.
I am green.
Or you be green.
I like purple.
Purple's pretty good.
I am purple.
He gives really good definition, which is interesting.
I am purple.
I am purple. This
Do
is
not-
purple
Do
time.
not doubt the purple. The power of purple be upon you.
Do I actually have enough brown wash to make this happen? Yes. Perfect. Perfection! I'll get a bigger brush. I'm talking about. Good old wash brush. Ugh. We're gonna throw some of this on here. See what it looks like. I'm gonna just
RGB
slap
head.
it on there.
Wait, what?
Yeah, can you make it alternate like the lamp behind you? Or the LED light behind you?
Can I make it what?
Can you make the color alternate?
Weird.
The one behind you? There we go. Now the question is,
just stay stable, dude.
can I just do this with these and have it look good?
Purple.
What'd you do?
That was my knee.
Oh no, I heard the smack.
I do not sit at this desk.
Yeah, this is not a oh my gosh.
Dude.
You're having a rough time over there.
Dude, you should not let me produce this show.
Do I need to produce and you paint?
No.
'Cause
That would probably be worse.
it would probably be worse.
Holy knee. What the balls? Like there's like a problem with cords and stuff here.
Yeah, I feel like cable management could be looked at a little bit.
You can't really scoot the chair when you're on a cable. So I was trying to overscoot the chair. And by overscooting the chair, I overscooted my knee right into that stanchion of the desk that's made out of, metal.
Oh gosh.
Hi, and it's nice and square. Ouch.
Okay, so definitely we do the olive flesh.
Scrumbly Dumpus says, what the hell, no Legion skulls on the shoulder pads?
I'm telling you, you can't do it I'm not doing that by hand. I have many mans to paint. I'm not painting Legion skulls on their shoulder pads. I'm not doing it.
Quitter.
You know what? Hey, look, okay. I'm doing all the hazard striping on all the little tanks and stuff, okay? We're doing that.
I don't even understand what that means. That's what you're supposed to do.
I know.
And you're supposed to also do it on the shoulders. There's rules in this world, man. If you just break the rules, then what I mean, you can't just do that.
You're gonna make me do this, and I'm gonna be really sad. You're gonna make me do this, and then I'm gonna be very sad.
It's all pressure.
I'm being pressured here,
anyway?
chat.
Knees are overrated.
Knees are overrated?
That really hurt, though.
Yeah.
It was kind of like a funny bone, but right on your knee, where you don't really have a funny bone, and
Yeah.
it definitely wasn't funny.
Oh, yeah, no, for
But
sure.
holy macaroni, that hurt.
It didn't sound like it hurt.
You know what I'm going to do to take care of it? I'm going to eat a banana, because potassium helps.
Yeah.
It helps your pain go away.
I don't know about that one, but sure.
You need to eat better bananas, dude.
Well, you know, I've only had the one bananas that I've been having all my life. And it took me a long time to even eat those. For the longest time, I wouldn't eat bananas. I didn't like them.
Death from Impulsor says you need to do goblin eyes on the shoulder pads.
Nope.
I tend to agree.
Nope. You guys are making fun of me. It's just because Jason's over there producing.
Hey, Tim.
Hi, Tim.
Tim says, did you see that noosh glow effect I did? I did not.
I did not.
I have been staring at accounting spreadsheets all day.
You have, yeah.
So, I am in, it hasn't been like, I don't know, is there bad accounting? There probably is, right? Like if you were having a tax audit, that would be bad accounting you have to look at. Or if your company was going down in the weeds, that would be bad accounting. We don't have those issues. I was having to look at all of the joy that we are going to create at the end of year for all of our employees today.
Oh.
Well, not all of them. Not people like Jordan.
Oh, that makes me sad. That makes me sad.
Well, we do profit sharing around here, and the way the profit sharing kicks in is that once you've been here for a year, it gets to be fun.
We're almost there. Almost.
Oh, it's still
there.
gonna be good for you. I'm just saying. once you pass that magic 12-month mark. Painting is a freedom. Decals, no shoulder paint, tiny skulls, tiny hazard stripes. It's all up to you. That's not how we do it around here.
No.
Well,
That is way too positive.
Jason's right. That's not how we do it around here. Judgment and...
That is way too kumbaya drum circle for Monument Hobby.
Circle. Oh my gosh.
We gotta keep people in their place around here. It's like, you gotta paint those shoulders. The smaller the model gets, the more important it is to do all the freehand work. That's the rule around Monument Hobbies. So while I understand the sentiment, Cornflake, and I applaud the effort,
In reality...
we cannot let Jordan think that there is such thing as hobby freedom.
Well, there is hobby freedom.
The rest of us will discuss that after the show.
I'm just not sure I'm going to enjoy my hobby
Chad,
freedom.
that's where you and me are. I may be the one with the banana.
Right? But that doesn't mean I wouldn't share it with you.
Jason's having entirely too much fun over there. Eating a banana on stream. He's getting to make fun of me.
I'm doing the banana dance.
It's like your favorite pastimes.
I'm doing the banana dance.
You're doing the banana dance?
I did.
Oh, I'm not seeing any dancing.
Because you can't dance. No dancing. No singing either. Tiny Freehand is the best, T. Schmidt. I think the unicorn I painted on Jen. Oh my god, that was so good. That was so good. Hey, there's a cute female in chat who says I'm cute, Jordan. What am I supposed to do? How do I act? Do I do the ignore him at the bar?
No. No,
No,
most
no.
certainly not. No,
Don't do the
no.
ignore him at the bar.
You eat a banana.
I eat the bar.
When in doubt, eat the banana.
I heard you're not supposed to eat a banana and make eye contact, so I'm going to do just that. Let me finish this bite, and then I'll do it again. Okay, go, chat.
Gumby's sister. Hi, Shelby.
Too much eye contact. She does too. She dances at work, and I don't know who lets her get away with that nonsense.
Well, not you, because otherwise she wouldn't be doing it.
Well, there's a reason why I have my office at the other side of the building.
You can't stand the rest of
Lone
us.
Samurai says, I'm a little scared for that banana. Okay, wait a minute. I have never in my life mistreated a banana.
I mean, you just ate one.
Hey, Tom, what's happening? Death from Impulsor's like, oh, baby. My social anxiety is spiking from all this eye contact.
That's what we're here for.
That's what we're here for. Eye contact. We give you eye contact.
We used to do what we called the man stare. There's still the emotes for it in chat.
The man stare?
Mhm.
What the heck is that?
Oh, by the way, Jen, you happen to be very cute yourself. If I do say so.
Dang, who are you trying to impress over there?
I mean, I might buy that lady a dinner.
Hmm.
Jen allows dancing at work. That's not the way that works.
That's not the way that works.
Not the way that works.
Alright, we're back to the regular ones now.
No one can stop me. That's it. Philip, if you're paying attention to the stream, I need you to go tackle Shelby. This is going to get us sued.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not sure that's a better solution.
Some very bad things are going to come out of this whole train of thought. One of them is going to get hurt, which is going to mean we're down even further. You joined the chat to the banana stare, had to leave the room. That was probably one of the worst times to join in on a Monument Hobby stream, is when I'm like, you know what, Chet? I'm going to make eye contact while eating my banana. Welcome to Monument Hobbies. What's going on, Gosu? James Meeks, what's going on? James, am I going to meet you tomorrow?
Oh, yeah. Maybe.
Says yes, 8:30 prompt. He's like, you better be there.
I'll be there at 8:30, and you better not be late, Jason.
Yeah, Jason, you best not show up late.
I'm now scared, so I'm going to stick you alone with Jen in a room for your interview.
Well, probably not tomorrow.
You remember in
Of
boot
all
camp, they made us
times.
break the bananas up into pieces to eat them since we would eat at a co-ed table? Oh, yeah.
What?
And people can't be trusted to act normal with a banana in hand.
Jeez, that's ridiculous.
I'm a banana.
Only got
James,
a few
I'll
more of
probably
these
be
to
there
do.
early. Early is on time. Make that your mantra, chat.
Early is on time.
Yes.
Okay.
On time is late. Early is on time. Late is fired.
Got it. Yeah, okay.
James is like, I'm interviewing with the boss. You know, Jen. So my early is on time thing has gone to crap this week because of all the road work they did in our neighborhood.
Oh yeah,
I have had to find Jen and I have had to find an absolute, and people are going to cry. They'll be like, "Cry me a river." Anybody that commutes further than 3 miles to work is going to be really angry at me. But Jen and I have these conversations because it pains our souls that our normal route to work now takes forever. So it doubled or tripled the length of time to get to work if you go the regular way now. And
Is
it's
it
and
really?
there's no change happening. That's
Oh my
just the way it's going to be. So we've had to find detours, and exactly what I said was going to happen is happening, is that all of these quiet neighborhood streets that nobody ever drives down except the people that live there now have mass amounts of traffic being rerouted from the main road that they reduced down to 2 lanes and a bike
Yep.
lane.
Yep, that sounds about
So
right.
You're welcome to change. Big Bobzilla. Tom's got it. My anus is bleeding.
Oh my gosh. Don't know. That's
I'm
bad.
a
Go see doctor.
banana. Time change is messing you up. It's only been like, what, 3 weeks?
Yeah, I was about to say it's been a hot minute since we did.
Hairdo has a 15-step commute.
I might as well have.
Do you walk in
15 step
circles
commute.
some days just to make it feel like you're having to try? The time change on the stream is messing you up? It's been really fun for us. So I'm
Yeah.
glad that you guys have stuck through, except for Big Bobzilla, who can't remember what time it is. Late for work, got to hang around the coffee pot. You actually pace in your office when you're on the phone. In a meeting
would do
today, I
that
told him
too.
to take my phone away and give it to Kyle.
Why?
Well, because I learned Kyle doesn't have a phone, and that doesn't make sense.
Wait, Kyle doesn't have a phone?
Kyle doesn't have a phone.
No, that's a lie.
Chat, I want to explain something to you. I want to have you. Okay, first of all, chat, let's play a game. Let's play a game of how professional do you believe Monument Hobbies is behind the scenes?
Scale out of 1 to 10.
On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being like the most collared shirt, pin protector organized company you can imagine. I will say IBM in the 60s versus guy with I don't know, what kind of company is completely like you just don't expect to be organized at all.
The Wendy's right up the road.
The Wendy's right up the road. Nobody else is going to know about. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how organized do you think, how professional do you think Monument Hobbies is behind the scenes? Gosu gave us a -1. Okay. Deadbeat a 5.5. Phil is like, I can answer that. Phil, you don't get to answer.
I can answer this question too.
Phil's in the building. You don't get to answer if you're here. Or be very careful with your answer, Philip.
Obviously, the answer is 10 out of 10.
Big Bob says 6.9 because he's still a teenager. Paintlicker says 4. Game Delay gave us a 1.
Wow, thanks, Game Delay.
He's an attorney, so he probably has high expectations. Lone Samurai gave us an 11. Lone Samurai trying to get
dang.
hugs the next time we meet in public. Jen says, "Are you talking about an office phone?" Yes, I was actually.
Okay, I was like, wait a second. I'm pretty sure he has a cell phone.
Deadbeat says, "Oh, a 10 is IBM in the 60s, then we're a 2.75." I mean, that's being generous. Game Delay says, I don't have to hear the rest. Just a 1. Dang. Scathing comments. I'm not answering that question with my interview. James Meeks, smartest one in the room. James Meeks, smartest one in the room. Here I got an employee in new guy Philip over there who's like, can I blow this up? Philip's in there going, should I press the red button? Hey, Philip, did you tackle Shelby and make her stop dancing? Were you here for that? Because that's what I asked you to do. Chat can vouch. Shelby says she dances and nobody can stop her, and I said, Philip. Oh, Philip, capital yes. I tackled all the people. Well, no more orders going out today, chat. They're all bleeding.
I caught Philip here today taking a nap.
I love this company.
During his lunch. I came in to do some airbrushing.
Was he taking a nap in the chair?
He was taking a nap in the chair.
So Philip is the king of lunch naps, and it has really surprised me that over the past few months he has not been taking lunch naps. He used to lunch nap in his truck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is new guy Phil the office linebacker? Yes.
He's kind of built like one.
Yes. Except it seems like he has sharper parts than the normal linebacker because everybody's bleeding.
Oh, okay. I was like, where's this going?
Gosu says if you need a prior medical professional to patch up your beaten in play, it depends on why the word prior is in this sentence. Please explain. How many malpractice suits were there before this, Gosu? We only want to have our employees get quality care after being tackled by new guy Phil. Big Bob says you guys must be doing something right if employees actively watch off the clock. Hey, wait a minute. Off the clock. These people are supposed to be working.
Whoever said that is throwing some shade.
We aggressively, well, not, I don't know if aggressively is the right word. We advocate everyone at the company paying attention to the stream if they can. Be smart about it. Nobody gets caught just sitting around watching the stream, except that old cat, apparently. He's air quotes working, allegedly.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that guy.
Everyone can break the Hippocratic Oath once.
Everyone can do it once. Yep.
Hell, in today's day and age, you would be an amazing doctor if you only broke it once.
Well, true.
Monument Hobbies monetizing our employees by having them watch and subscribe. Exactly.
Hey, you know what?
Right.
Whatever we got to do, the bill's paid.
Dude. We just wish they had to subscribe daily.
Yep. Yeah, speaking of, where's your subscription there, Mr. Old Cat?
Spider-Man says everybody gets one Peter. What would you do with 2 Peters? Sorry, this isn't that kind of stream. They're still on the clock for another 97 minutes, Big Bob. That's Jen. That's the voice of God right there.
Dang.
Except she's sick today and at home. Hence the reason you're stuck with me.
Yep.
Being beautiful in this chair.
It's true. Very true.
Although I look a little jaundiced because the camera makes me yellow.
You're an awful lot more yellow than you are normally. Don't worry, he's fine. No failing organs over here. Throwing on the brown wash over the top of that dry brush that I was talking about earlier.
Paint liquor. Brownie points. Incoming.
Brownie sounds delightful.
Lion Creative, I've checked your LGS a few times and they don't have fluorescence yet. Where are you at? They must have been really late. Did they sell out or are they just really late in getting their order in? Houston? Did they sell out first? Lone Samurai, you've pre-ordered Noosh. We'll be doing a review for work. Nice.
Very
Nice. Nice. Yeah, I know that Element opened up pre-orders and were flooded.
I bet.
They had to add to their order. We don't know if we'll be able to handle the additions before it ships, but we'll try our best.
Wow, I didn't realize they had to change their order. They were like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Time for new stuff.
Yeah. crazy Brits, they don't trust that we make the stuff everybody wants, and then everybody wants it and they don't have it.
It's true.
Baby J, what colors should I also get with it to make weathering mixes? For your noosh? So we are talking about making pre-mixed colors, and I will tell you that the biggest colors that I think you will find the initial, like, I won't say every day because you're not going to use noosh every day most likely, but you'll when you use it, black brown,
Yep.
fantastic. Brown and black transparent in various mixes, both together as transparents or with other opaque colors will help to give you, the warmer or less so and darkness that you need. So those two are really good to have. Burnt sienna for any rusty type stuff that you do is probably the best color that we make for that. The yellow ochre or the golden brown, they're very similar once you put them in noosh, right? Because you're looking at a very light filter with the yellows generally for like what I did on the Dreadnought, what Baby J was doing yesterday on his Duradeo. It just gives you that, I call it the pea stain effect. That's a really bad way to say it because nobody really wants pea stains on anything, but it is kind of a pea stain effect, and I just picked that up back when I was doing scale models. So those colors are going to be your go-tos all the time. Then you can start looking at playing around with things like a Payne's gray, more different hues if you want to do like green, mossy kind of ugliness and staining, then dark camo green, black green, things like that. Any color works. It's just you're going to really fall in love with it with the darker shades first. And then your mind will start expanding into how you can use brighter stuff. Like Tim had stated earlier that he used it to do some glow effects. And so you can use brighter colors to help out with OSL. Generally push you towards our glaze wash medium for that kind of stuff, though. But they both will work. They're just very different in how they work. So play around with it. With wolves around, pea stains happen. Who's got wolves? You have wolves?
I do not have.
Do you raise wolves? And are they two-legged or quadrupedal?
What?
Because we have some two-legged wolves in this office we're trying to raise.
What?
Like Shannon Fisher, born in a barn, that one. Her daughter Shelby's not too far off. Crazy people.
He's Canadian.
Did you know that Shelby doesn't like peas?
I heard during lunch that she doesn't like peas. To be fair, though, I also don't like peas.
Gonna be sister's like, that's my mom. Oh, now you come to her defense. Where was that earlier?
I think Jabe is the one who I'd be worried about that with. Mr. She's a pill.
Oh, yeah. Shelby doesn't like peas. Gosu says peas are overrated. I don't know. Space Wolf player for 30 years in January? What?
Oh my gosh. What the heck?
Paint Liquor says peas are mid, not impressed. I don't understand this lingo you use. Peas are mid. Peas are not the kind of thing I ask for with every meal, so I will agree that they are just a food. They are not a brilliantly amazing food, but they are good. Right? There are certain things that require peas. If you ever order any type of pasta carbonara, it must require peas. Should you have to find yourself traveling in Italy and ask for carbonara with peas, they will laugh at you.
Yes, they will be upset.
Because the peas and things in carbonara, that's what poor people do. I was told that by a waiter at my restaurant in Italy. Lone Samurai says, and even sadder, I'll be going to the local store I bought my first Space Wolves from to get more plastic on the 30th anniversary. That's amazing, by the way.
That's really cool.
To have a 30-year anniversary of playing Space Wolves by buying Space Wolves at the store
that you first bought them from?
That you first bought Space Wolves. That's like some sort of like gameception thing going on. Peas and sweet corn, perfect for bulking dinners. I mean, I like peas. I don't know that I really like peas by themselves anymore. That was kind of forced on me as a kid, so I might not be like huge if you give me like a plate of peas, right? But peas need to be in things, and Jen knows this, and Jen puts peas in some of our pasta dishes.
I've never liked peas.
Peas and corn are great because they're always on sale. Turns out they're plentiful.
They are plentiful.
They are plentiful. But I do not like mushy peas.
See, I like split pea soup. That's how I like to consume it.
Phil says peas and meat pie are top tier, but other than that, meh. Okay, meat pie, like pot pie, chicken pot pie and stuff like that. Peas, corn, like the cubed corn we were talking about. Jen loves peas. Jen and I were made for each other, except for the whole sour cream thing.
Yeah, because she likes sour cream, you do not, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and she doesn't like raisins, which is a real problem.
You know, I came around on raisins. I did not like them originally, but now I find myself enjoying them.
Raisins are a tremendous snack. Tremendous. But so it's a really funny thing, right? These are the things that we can't get rid of from our childhood. And for like decades, I didn't do it. And then I realized it again when I found the little box of Sun-Made raisins that's always been the same. Does everybody know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
It's the little red box with the little girl on the front.
Yep. And
it's Sun-Made raisins, but it's made MAID, I think. Right? I don't remember. But because I think the girl is like a maid or something like that. Man, they're so good. And they're great because you open the little, they're the crazy shape. They're like a crazy shape. It looks like a miniature crayon box. And you open it up and you're like, how does this work? Because if you turn it over, nothing happens. Because all of them are stuck together inside. So you got to get your finger in there and dig them out. And then you get a weird bite full that's like in your dugout finger and you eat it like that. So there you go. Sun-Made tastes like molasses heaven.
What is molasses heaven?
Obviously what Sun-Made tastes like.
I mean, okay.
I just like raisins. I do not like molasses.
You don't
so
like
this
molasses?
is funny. Also sprouts, if you know how to cook them, great. If you don't, soggy, mushy, meh. What kind of sprouts? I like alfalfa sprouts on sandwiches.
Ooh, I like that too, actually. I haven't had it very much, but I do enjoy it.
Well, they took them off the market for a long time because people were dying.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Really?
It was like, people were getting like the death disease from poo-fingered alfalfa sprouts.
You mean E. coli?
Yes, that.
Okay.
Yeah. Turns out that some leaf lettuce and alfalfa sprouts is where most of the people that don't wash their hands after pooing work. Is wherever they make those.
That's not the best thing in the world.
Yeah.
I'm glad that that got sorted.
British sprouts? Whoa, 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 whoa. If you said Lone Samurai, you said sprouts as if I was thinking the good kind, but you're talking about Brussels sprouts.
Oh, no. Gosh, no. Ugh, no.
So be very careful how you decide to speak about Brussels sprouts in Monument Hobbies chat, because they're the worst thing on the planet.
I think eggplant might be worse, but I concur with the disdain for Brussels sprouts.
Brussels sprouts are horrible. Horrible. They were awful when we were younger and worse now.
Yeah.
If you succumb to the pressure of your parents and grandparents telling you, but you like them the way I cook them, you're the problem.
That is a lie.
You're the problem. Parboil them for 3 to 5 minutes, cut them in half, fry them, delicious. No, they're just angry little wannabe cabbages. Horrible. Cabbage is, to coin the kids' phrase, mid at best. Brussels sprouts are wannabe cabbages, so they don't even rate.
I don't think I ever would have expected you to use the term mid.
I'm trying to get across to these people. I need to speak their language so they understand the words that are coming out of my mouth.
Cannot believe that you just used the term mid.
I surprise people all the time with my lingo.
My head's exploding a little.
I'm hip to the kids. I am the meme. Is it Buscemi with the skateboard and the hat turned backwards in the high school thing? He goes, "Hi, cool kids." Panic Bomb's like, "What did I walk into?" You could have walked in earlier where I was making eye contact while eating a banana.
Too bad the banana's done.
They are literally baby cabbages. So yes, they are wannabe cabbages. Horrible. Cow sprouts? Oh, veal. I'm hip. I'm with it. Well, it says, hello, fellow children. We are not very... I want to warn you, if you happen to be joining our stream for the first time, if you were looking for adult supervision...
You're not going to find it here.
Might not be the place for you.
Yeah, you will not find it here.
For being I'm just going to go out and say it, a well-respected company in the industry.
Uh-huh.
We have to go back to the question I asked earlier. How professional do you think Monument Hobbies is behind the scenes?
We're not getting many good places
you know what?
there.
We got an 11. One out of the people that voted gave us an 11 out of 10.
You know what?
I think that counts.
I'll take that.
Paint Liquor says still a 4. We haven't proven anything different. I mean, if we didn't go down, that's got saying something, right? Adult supervision is out sick today. She is. She is in chat, though, but she can't do anything from there. That's the funny part. Now, I have to go home where it could turn bad for me.
I'm going to be sad if you
That's a
end up
future
not being-
Jason problem. At nearly 45, you are not hip with the kids. I'm 53. What are you talking about?
If Jason can do it, you can do it. Jason can do it, you can do it.
Thank you, Death from Impulsor, and everybody else that said that they hope that Jen gets better. There's an E. coli outbreak from romaine lettuce every few years. Yeah, exactly. Yep. You weren't hip with the kids when you were a kid. Neither was I. We were talking about that today.
Well, you weren't a hip,
I was
popular
going
kid?
over the fact that as a punk rock kid growing up in a time where it was very frowned upon to, now being alternative is just being normal.
Yep.
But back then that was not the case, right? And you were just as likely to get arrested when skateboarding as you were to get beaten up. It was a little different of a time. And when we were talking the other day about, what we did as kids going to the mall, and Jen, let loose with the realization that she and her girlfriends would go to the mall and look at all the bad boys. and it was like, so there was this group. So I was telling, I was like, you know what? The hardest thing to do as a punk rock kid growing up, right, was to date.
Yeah.
Because you had such a limited pool to choose from, because girls did not really dig punk rock.
Yeah.
Right? It just wasn't the thing. They were listening to Duran Duran. But it turns out that all of the Duran Duran listeners were secretly wanting to date punk rock guys, but refused to talk to us.
I love that. That is high school in a nutshell. That conversation, that dynamic, you can apply it to a million different things in high school, and that's the way that it works.
Life is not fair.
Yeah.
Benefit
Also,
of
high
being
school
British,
kids
you
are
did
dumb.
punk properly because you invented it. So what other lies would you like to spout today? What other lies would you like to spout today?
One more of those. Little guys.
Draw a red War Master's eye over those Aquilas, like someone graffitied over it. Are all of them the same? So the bases aren't very...
No, there's a pretty good...
Oh, there's a good... Oh, there are. I can see like 2 or 3 already.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not like too plain.
Yeah, because there's like 40
It's odd that they
bases
chose the bases to be some sort of decking, though, when they didn't have to. They could have just done them as like earth.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting.
It's very strange. Jade, what's going on? When your friends talk about going to 90s nights, I always say I didn't survive the 90s to have to suffer through that music again.
Oh my gosh. That's awesome.
Oh, here comes Lone Samurai with a bad wiki presentation. The punk rock subculture began in the United States in the early 70s as both a continuation and a reaction to the 60s counterculture movements. Although punk music was largely an American invention, punk style and attitude was very much a product of British youth culture. You made the culture. Lies. Yeah, but we had to finish it like everything else you start. Right?
Woo!
I wish I could drop this mic.
Dang. I mean, you can drop it. Yikes. Jason's bringing the fire today, folks. Jason is not messing around.
Apply cold water to burn. Well, you ain't wrong there.
we used to have when we would tour in England. It was always the funny thing, right? Because it's funny because you can still there's a ton. I love, by the way, going to England and there are bars with more so than in America. By the way, there are great little pubs with jukeboxes just full of good old punk and hardcore music, and you can play pool. And they're not they're not everywhere, but you can still find them and they're really neat. In America, that's fewer and further between. And when you go, it's like pop punk. It's like jukeboxes full of Blink 182 and Sum 41. But in England, you can get some really good stuff. And I the last time I was over there at a place like this was when I was in town for GW. Jesus, that's been a long time. I was working at GW. I was there with another guy from the U.S., Justin. And we were in a pub with some of the guys from GW and some other friends, and we were playing pool, and we were listening to music, and a guy unplugged the jukebox. This big guy with a mohawk unplugged the jukebox because we had stuck like $10 in it or something, and had all the music playing. And he got very angry because it was all American punk music that we had selected. So we wound up befriending him, and we had a good talk about it. But it started off on that foot of, you wouldn't know punk if it bit you.
That's really funny.
You grew up with bands and artists. Your honorary uncle is Mike Diabo from Manfred Mann. That's awesome. Fuse got his musket ready. Have you ever loaded a musket?
No. But
so I got to tell you,
want to.
One thing you should do in your life, especially if you are if you enjoy guns or shooting or the idea of it, is to go fire some black powder and do something like a musket load.
Is it crazy?
Okay, how did anybody live? Is my question. You know what? The only reason we made it to this age, as mankind, is because people were just like, dude, I'm not loading this again. Can we just call it good?
Yeah.
Can we just call it good?
That's hilarious.
Musket loaders are a trip. It's like, wow, there's science involved here. I'm not wadding and powder and slugs. It's like, what the no wonder. And then when you shoot it, it's amazing that so people didn't die from just getting shot. You died from the infection of the wound. Because when you shoot black powder, it's like, meh. Like, I'd stand in front of that.
I'd stand in front of that.
Not really, but
It's like, I don't know if I'd want to stand in front of that at all.
Cruise TV, what's going on? Thank you for the follow. Black powder is the only way to enjoy it. I'll come over for the reenactment next year. Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah. The gunpowder is crazy. It's funny because in Colorado, when I lived in Colorado, my closest neighbor, it's going to sound horrible. He was a felon. Okay, so he'd been in jail, done some time, and he was when I met him, he was just a good, generous family man, had a wife and kids, but in his younger years was a crazy hoodlum, and he had done some time, so he couldn't own a proper firearm. But it turns out you can own black powder firearms as a felon.
That's awesome.
So I had at my land in Colorado, I had a firing range dug, so that because I had 40 acres out in the middle of nowhere, and so we dug a berm when they excavated for the place where we poured the foundation for the building. I had them take a bunch of the dirt and make a berm that I could shoot into, right? And he would come over with his black powder rifle, and it was always so funny. You did 1812 reenactments in high school, loaded mini muskets. So you know what I'm talking about. Crazy. They had pouches. So you had to keep your powder dry. That was the whole thing.
Yep.
Keep your powder dry was like the kind of thing you would say to wish people good luck. May your powder always be dry. Because I'd have a pouch of these things. They'd make up their little powder pouches, with the cloth and shove it down. And they had all these little things that would look like, what were those little snap bangs? The little things you would throw that would, little powder things that you'd throw and they'd pop when they hit.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
I do know what
They
you're
were
talking
a
about.
little pouch.
I don't remember what they're
The little
called.
pouches. You throw them really hard, and they were like caps. They'd pop, right? T. Schmidt, you nooshed today. Did you take a shower after? Yeah, like poppers or something like that. Yeah, exactly. Poppets. Yeah, poppets. Gameplay says, we'll let you shoot, but we want to maximize the potential risk to innocent bystanders, so no rifling in that gun. Exactly. You can't have a gun with any rifling in the barrel. Everything else is not considered a gun. It's considered like a, I don't know, like a sporting hobby device or something. Snap and pops. Okay, so snap pops, like I said, was okay. Yeah. Jard, exactly. Well, if I can't have a firearm, I guess I'll just go get a cannon.
It's like, can I legally
There's no rifling in this
cannon
barrel.
then?
Well, that's I think I look at the meme where it's like the person defending their home, you know, by the Second Amendment, if it was as written, and he's like, "Have at you scabbies," and he has like a cannon at the top of the stairs. Or something like that. He has like a cannon emplacement at the top of the stairs. It's a great cartoon. You had to get your shotgun license renewed early for your musket for reenactment. Sad I had to sell that. I've never owned any black powder weapons because they seem silly to me. But the history of them and actually then having to load one and go through that, and not like a Colt or something where you had to do your own loads and like a 6-shooter or something. Those are funky too. But it's now you want a cannon. Yeah, it's like Phil exactly. He's like tally ho. Oh my god, I want a cannon.
Jason, I want a cannon.
I keep telling Jen that we have this tree that's kind of in poor shape out in front of our house, and when we did our yard, we made a specific area where the tree is in the pavers, so the pavers go around the tree.
Mm-hmm.
So I've always worried, like, what happens if the tree dies? I don't want the tree to die. I want the tree to live. But if the tree dies, what do you do? Because now we've committed to having these pavers in a shape like there's supposed to be something there. And if the tree dies, it's like, well, that's odd. You know? So now we have an answer. I'm going to put cannon. I'm going to put a cannon where the tree was. Dude, that was so good.
I can't wait to see all of your neighbors' reaction
Well,
when they see a cannon in your front yard.
Lone Samurai, don't believe the nonsense on the news.
Oh my gosh. Oh.
Your stepdad has a pistol from the Civil War era that's passed down through his family. That's awesome. That's awesome. Jen just says, no, period. Well, it's a good thing I don't need you to go pick it up with me. She can't lift heavy stuff, so the cannon will just stay. As long as I can get it in place before she gets home. Cannons are awesome. Well, I didn't mean like a howitzer. I'm talking like a little cannon.
I think you should get a howitzer.
The area with it, the tree ain't that big. It's not going to be like the big, whatever they were, 50-pound guns or whatever on the side of ships.
I'm expecting a howitzer, Jason.
Your sister's already walking, Wad?
What
After
the
double
heck?
lung transplant? Didn't she get lungs?
Oh my gosh. That's crazy.
Yeah, and by vast majority, he means the entirety. Right?
All right.
That's
Jason.
crazy, Wad. I hope that keeps going in that direction. That's awesome.
Yeah, same here.
Arts in
That's
chat for
crazy.
Wad's sister. She had double lung surgery or double lung replacement. That just, that just seems so sci-fi to me. Right?
Yeah.
That like, oh hey,
It's like,
your
we're just
lungs are
getting new pair
bad.
of lungs.
Here, have these.
these will work good for
Have
you.
these lungs, and that they put them in there, and that they're getting better and better at the whole cellular rejection thing that your body tends to do, fights off replacement organs as being foreign bodies and like eats them to death.
All right.
Big Bertha, I want a long tom. Jen doesn't know what that is, so maybe she'll say yes.
A
Hey
long
Jen,
tom?
can we have a long tom? Don't Google it.
Yeah, Jen.
You
don't
have to
Google.
answer based off on knowledge you have right this minute.
Jeez.
She's just going to say no. She's like, given the conversation, I'm going to say no. So GWHQ has a Space Marine and a real-life Rhino tank outside. What does Monument HQ have? Fun.
A cannon.
Fun. We have fun. We're not stodgy corporate schmucks. We have fun.
We do have fun.
We have a big M sign on the side of the building.
We also have a courtyard.
We have a courtyard.
Yep.
We have a drink machine. Oh, Jen, you were typing fun.
Was she also typing fun?
Yeah, we also have a full parking lot. Omicron came by. Like we don't have enough parking spaces anymore, which is a real bummer. That's a real problem for Monument Hobbies right now. American HQ and no barbecue fire pit? Is that a thing? Make sure you have your search filters on if you start Googling Long Tom. You should have a feeling about, just an odd feeling about that one.
I don't even know what it is, and I won't.
It's the big cannon that was on a rail car.
Oh, okay. That makes more sense.
Oh, you're typing based on the conversation. No, I know you too well. You have many expectations over here of what American companies do. That's like going to Australia and saying, "Hey, is there a shrimp on the bobby?" You know.
Can I get a shrimp on the barbie?
I mean, I'm not gonna say that we don't like barbecuing out, but you know, everybody does. I don't know. You go everywhere you go in the world, people will like cook outside, right?
Yeah, they just may not call it barbecue.
And we can, convicts. Oh, Australians, I feel bad for you.
Why?
Because Lone Samurai is raking them across the coals right now. He said, "And we can, convicts." Shows up in Sydney. Yo, where are the kangaroos at? Where are the roos? Where are the wallas? Where are the drop bears?
Old drop bears.
Oh, Gentastic's like, Jabe and I were talking about getting a fire pit.
In the courtyard?
I don't know. I'm just waiting for the building to burn down.
Yeah, I was like,
waiting for that call. We did bring the barbecue up here a couple times, or somebody brought a barbecue up here sometimes, and we barbecued once, I think.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah. Oh. Or maybe we were talking about getting a barbecue for the shop.
That would also be fun.
I don't trust these people.
Wait, what?
Around fire? What? Solo, he is working on the new Imperialis stuff, the latest Horus Heresy epic scale game that GW has come out with, that I think takes the place of Titanicus. They've said they're no longer supporting Titanicus with new product and rules and such. Luckily, but Titanicus is in a really good state.
Yeah.
But now they've even relabeled all of the boxes for the Titans with Imperialis logos.
Yes.
So it no longer says Adeptus Titanicus anymore. Yeah. Which is kind of funny.
I'm surprised it didn't do better. I mean, I get it, but my issue is like that's like literally the best game that they have.
Titanicus is, yeah. It's up there for sure.
The game is insane. How good it is.
For sure. Hey, Chad, I need to ask a very serious question. So, as you may have noticed, Gentastic just typed in chat, a temporary fire pit game delay. It will move to my house after our Christmas party. Anybody have a bed I can sleep on? You put the fire pit next to the cannon. That's not safe.
That's not safe.
That might not be safe.
Don't do that.
It might not be safe. Man, it is a glorious time here in Arizona where at night you can like go to all the restaurants that have the patios with the fire pits and just hang out. It's so good.
Yep.
It's so good. Kyra says, sure, but you have to come to North Carolina for it. I mean,
don't get them excited.
Have legs will travel? Yeah. Yeah, Wad says, I think she's throwing you on your ass. Okay, fun police. Let's put the fire pit next to the ammo.
Let's put the fire pit next to the ammo. Let's not do that.
Tim spent $3,500 on a new mattress. I will tell you, if you want a large mattress, mattresses are not cheap, dude. As you have seen, mattresses can get pricey. Aeronautica Imperialis affected as well by the new release. Yeah. Songer. Now, are they going? Have they talked about adding the Aeronautica Imperialis stuff to this one?
Oh, you can use it.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
They mixed them all, right?
Correct.
Okay, gotcha.
They're also rebranding and repackaging all of the Aeronautica stuff.
Yeah, I would assume so. Yeah, it was just the games are at the same scale, and it always felt like they were moving towards putting them together.
Yes.
I think this is a way to do it. I wish that they had not changed the Titan rules so
Significantly.
much. Yeah. It's a totally different game though, so I get it, but you know.
I mean, I actually like the fact that they haven't changed it. They have changed it significantly because I like Titanicus on its own as its own game, and I will still play it as its own game. I am not replacing Titanicus with this. So if they had made them much
that's
more
just
similar,
more rules you got to remember, dude.
Yeah, I mean,
they could have done this the
wrong.
easy way. They chose violence.
Yeah, I guess they could have just expanded Titanicus to include all of this.
Titanicus rule set is so tight.
It's a lot to manage in addition to having to do all of this stuff.
It's not though. It's more sad it's just Heresy era and not 40K Lone Samurai. I mean, I love the Heresy, but I get it. I agree that not having the choices between factions is a bummer. From a business standpoint, my brain immediately goes to the fact that this is the only affordable way for them to do it. Can you imagine if they tried to do a range that covered all of the existing factions in 40K? I mean, they barely have got 3 in this game, right?
Well, they have the opportunity to do 5. Solar Auxilia, Space Marines, Custodes, Mechanicum, Demons. So they could do 5 pretty easily.
I know. I'm with you. The Epic Orcs were amazing. The Eldar I didn't really care for as much. The models back then weren't great. Forge World did some during the Epic Armageddon stretch that were really good. You know, when they came out with the new Warlord Titans and all that stuff, there was some really good stuff. But the Orc stuff, like the big Gargants and Mega Gargants, were amazing. I just love that stuff.
I feel like this color is going to be too dark. What do you think? You've done a lot of historical stuff.
I like it.
You think it works?
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to dry brush it, right?
No, it's already been dry brushed.
Oh, okay.
That's what I was saying. I think it might be a little too dark.
I might put a little bit of a brighter dry brush on it.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of highlighting around the turret.
Yeah.
And maybe the top of the track, but not too much.
Okay. Yeah, because the track is going to get painted with the silver.
Yeah.
But I'm putting this darker silver on, and I can't distinguish between the track and the tank, and that's a problem, I think.
Well, I mean, which is kind of the way it works. You know, having grown up doing scale model, it was one of the biggest difficulties I had moving to what I will call what has become traditional miniature painting is that false contrast we're so used to.
Yeah.
But for gaming, I think, yes, you need that contrast.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's also not bad to have them look more realistic like that because, tanks weren't painted to be beautiful. Tanks were painted to be utilitarian. The paint was a protective coat, and they didn't care. I mean, they painted them in whatever their livery colors were, but, it's not like you find, wild-ass camouflage tanks very often. They're literally, green.
What color do you think I should use for the highlight?
What color is the base?
So the base is gray brown, or I'm sorry, brown gray.
Brown gray.
And then the highlight is light umber and into it last night. Hold on.
A really light dusting of dark ivory would look good.
Oh yeah, that could work really good.
Bone maybe. I don't know if bone's bright enough.
Yeah, bone may not be bright enough. Bone's definitely a little.
Yeah, Kyra, I figure I was going to ask that. Did they change the Titanicus data plates? But I would assume not because that game is still Titanicus. Somebody had a fear that they wouldn't come with the plates and you'd have to buy them just in the packs, right?
Let me try bone.
So it's good if they're still selling the Imperialis ones with the plates for Titanicus too, which is good. So.
Oh, are they still selling them with the plates?
Game Deli says, Jordan, when do you put the decals on the Space Marines? He doesn't. He hand paints everything, especially when they're 6mm ones.
Yeah.
You just have to wait for it.
Let's see.
You think if it does well, they might expand to 40K, but you wouldn't hold your breath? I think they keep it as a heresy thing. Now, obviously, as any business goes, if you were to see this go nuclear, but in order for, I think, Epic to wind up with 40K factions in it, it would have to be selling better than Age of Sigmar. Because it doesn't matter how big the model is, it's the fact that it's a different SKU and another mold, right? And sprue and all that stuff. So, Paint Liquor says you should have dry brushed it hot pink.
Nope.
Ghost Hunter says upwards facing carrot. Agree. Punisher says +1 for pink.
I don't know if you can see the difference there with that dry brush layer.
When you were first putting it on, it made a difference. Hold it up to another one.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, that works great.
Makes a nice difference.
Paint Liquor says Baby J hates my good ideas. That's a yes. I'll go ahead and answer for him. You'd be able to tell if it was hot pink. Yeah, see? Panic Bomb coming through with the logic. Baby J's like, I can't tell I did anything. Well, if it was pink, you woulda. Baby J hates chat.
just a little bit right now.
Baby J hates chat. Hate's a strong word.
Hate is a strong word.
Hate is a strong word.
Not the word that I would necessarily use.
He talks pretty nice about you guys most of the time.
I do. Yeah.
I'm the one telling him,
love
watch
chat.
out. Don't give him too much credit. Game Delay says, could Baby J show us managing the paint on the dry brush? Sure he can.
Yeah.
How he does it, I don't feel good at dry brushing and would love to see. Dry brushing, for as simple a technique as it is, it really does take a little bit of getting used to. And I will tell you this, that your dry brushing as a technique will change as you season the brush. And by season the brush, meaning that you generally won't clean the brush. You won't get it wet past a point. Sometimes you want to dry brush with the brush kind of slightly damp, depending on how much of a smudging and color placement you want. But for edge dry brushing, like what he's doing now, just for detail dry brushing, you want it pretty dry. And so the first one that I do, like loading the brush like he's doing now, wiping it on the paper towel, I take nearly 100% of the paint off.
Yeah.
I don't want a lot on there because as the brush is getting seasoned, and by seasoned I mean getting used to having dry paint in it, if you start with a lot of paint, your first swipe, because the brush doesn't already have dried paint on the bristles, your first swipe will be paint, like painting with a real brush, and it can be streaky and overdone. So remove all of the paint for the first 1-2 times you go back to your palette. And then after that, you should start seeing that the brush starts getting a little bit stiffer, starts having a little bit more paint on the bristles, and then you can start leaving more on there and doing it, and it won't streak the same way. But it's really up to you and the feel of it and how you like the outcome as to how much you dry brush. And then, watching some of the Artist Opus stuff and watching how Byron does his dry brushing, where he pretty much colors the entire model with a dry brush.
I learned a lot from checking out Byron's stuff.
I'm not a huge fan of the texture that it leaves. You spend a lot of time using techniques to make the dry brush work like a normal brush.
Yes.
For vehicles and large models, it can be great, especially for vehicles. If you don't have an airbrush, don't want to invest in an airbrush, and you still want to be able to paint tanks and have them look awesome, dry brushing is 100% the way. And doing it that Artist Opus way is fantastic. We've shown you a lot of time over the years of doing tanks and vehicles. We have our test Rhino over there where I did the ultramarine side of it just with a dry brush. And you can get fantastic results where the texturing is less visible because it doesn't have a whole lot of standout details on it. And it really gets you the highlighting and the shading the way you need to. So you can do all sorts of models that way. But, I would be careful with small models. Because generally, the more reduced the spacing between details is, the worse dry brushing becomes as a thing.
Yeah, these take very well to dry brushing, which is awesome because they have a lot of like little bits of raised detail.
Yep.
That catch all of the color on.
Wad says hate is a strong word, but he really, really, really don't like you. What?
Wow.
What?
That's brutal.
Baby J, I told you he talks nice about you. I thought we had to add barbecue seasoning to the brush. I mean, you should try it.
I like doing this over the red too, because it adds like a nice little bit of kind of dusty highlight to it. It was really nice.
Punisher says it would be great if his actions matched his words.
Who's mine?
Yes.
What do you mean?
I keep trying to tell him you talk nice about them, but you treat them so poorly on stream, and so they're just it's very confusing, Baby J.
I treat them very nicely on stream. When was the last time I threw you guys under the bus, huh?
Yesterday.
What do you mean? It's a lie. That's an outright lie. A fabrication.
Lone Samurai, yeah. I've been dry brushing since the 80s, early 80s. And yeah, if you get good at regular dry brushing, one of the big things with dry brushing is that you do have to go through some experiential time under the brush, so to speak, to really understand how to manipulate the paint on the brush. And the advent of more of the, like our DD series, the dome dry brushes coming into play, those dry brush much differently than a flat dry brush, which is what traditionally we would be using. And so there are new techniques and new ways to do it. I always called these types of brushes smudge brushes. And smudge painting was a thing for doing textured painting and for blending especially. So you could do smudge blending and things like that. And it worked really, really well on big surfaces when you were doing like battle damage stuff, right? Because it's still going to give you quite a bit of texture, visible texture. And so there's just lots of ways to use brushes to apply paint. I don't know that I call all of them dry brushing. By its very nature, a dry brush doesn't want to be damp to get its effect done. Can you have a little dampness on it? Yes, but you wind up removing more of the paint to compensate. Otherwise, the dampness streaks the paint. So it's kind of a balancing act. The thing that it does is that if you get used to using the kind of barely damp brush, that you remove all of the dusting that happens from dry brushing. Because what will happen is as you build up more paint on the bristles, every time you swipe the bristle across a surface, it will release particles of paint from the dry paint that's on the bristles. The paint, as the bristle flex, it just cracks and the paint turns into dust. That dust falls on the model and gets trapped with the wet paint, and now you have additional texture that is hard to get rid of and can kind of haze or fog the model. So you're always watching out for that. But you can get really used to dry brushing the standard way with no dampness and not run into that kind of dusting. But the damp brush I am a fan of. So just getting a little damp, wiping off most of the moisture on the paper towel, and then going and getting some paint with what's left, and then wiping most of the paint off on the paper towel and going to town works great. And then I find myself, it's hard to say, depending on the model, how often I go back and dampen the brush to get rid of the paint that's on there. But you'll get used to it. You'll find like, hey, after dipping my brush into the paint and dry brushing a half a dozen times, a dozen times, whatever works for you, then I put a little bit of water on it, clean it out on the paper towel, make sure it's dry again, and then go from there. It gives you a starting point that keeps the dust from happening on the brush and catches most of that problem before it becomes an issue. So there's lots of ways to do it.
I also like using a lot of like circular motions when I do these like highlights, because it helps kind of get all of the underside and the top side of stuff.
I was just going to say, only do it in one direction.
Ooh.
Yeah, you're supposed to only do it in one direction.
Oh, well.
You don't want highlights on the bottom of things.
Yeah.
So, it's literally the only technique Peachy has failed to teach you. Oh, Peachy. Game Delay says, Baby J treats us better than we deserve. Correct.
You don't deserve much.
Punisher says, I treat you very nice, and he did it in that caps, no caps way of, like, sarcasm. That's how you denote sarcasm in type. It says the guy with literally no pink anywhere. Chad has been saying pink for years, and you have never gotten the pink. So, you did when Jen used to paint on stream. The funny thing is they never told Jen to paint with hot pink. Because guess
weird.
What?
Because they like Jen?
No, because she was already painting with hot pink.
Oh, yeah, I guess that's true.
The only thing that chat would get on to Jen about is that she doesn't base her models.
Oh, yeah, that seems fair. That's a
Jen will be
valid
like,
criticism.
Jen's probably, if Jen's still paying attention to the stream, she'll be like, ain't nobody got time for that. The other day she was funny. She was talking about it. She's like, all my models are literally standing on asphalt because that's what the bases look like. Dramus, you're painting Arnhem Zola right now, and I don't own your dark purple. Would dark plum or royal purple work?
Royal purple would work good as a starting point, right? Dark plum would work too, but if you want a warmer, almost violet.
Yeah, dark plum is going to move you towards the red side of purple.
Yeah.
It would look good. And then royal purple is going to be a little bit brighter than that, but it will still give you a good shadow. If you get to the point where you've done that, and then the next layer mid-tone, and you think it's a little bright, then you could put a wash on it, and then do the mid-tone again. Jen's like, they're like empty parking lots.
Did Jen just say she likes empty parking lots?
No, they like empty parking lots. The miniatures.
She's
fine with that. We had a conversation a long time ago where she was just so funny on stream about how she's like, I don't understand why we have to put rocks and stuff on the bases. Grass.
We don't play any games.
She's like, they like parking lots. It's just become part of her shtick now. She's like, never happened. Deadbeat. Yeah, it's in one of the signature sets, but you can buy it as a single too. Royal purple. I will tell you that the current fastest sellers out of all the signature colors are dark jade and royal purple. Vince V.
Good old Vince V. Leading the pack.
It's in a signature set, sold out. What?
Wait, what?
No way.
Don't believe it.
No way. Hey guys, are there any of your materials you would recommend using a synthetic brush instead of your sable brushes?
Synthetic brush right now.
James, no. I don't like using expensive brushes, right? So whatever that means to you, right? I don't necessarily like using my more expensive brushes for metallics. And the reason for that is that the metallics have a physical component called mica flake in them, or in some cases aluminum flake. And those are small particles of metallic medium, right? Or not medium, but metallic particles, so that they give you that reflective sheen. That's a whole shtick with metallics. And so it is a physical thing. And at a microscopic level, they're little sharp pieces of metal. And so those little particles can, over time, cause problems, more so with natural hair. So for sables, you might want to say that, yes, stay away from metallics. But, you know, if you're good about cleaning your brushes, it's still not a huge problem. But it's just something that's been bred into me over years and years and years of painting, is that I tend to use, you know, my older brushes and things like that if I'm doing base coating with a lot of metallic. Once I get to detailing with metallics, same as always, use whatever brush. But when I'm base coating metallics, I typically will grab a different brush. But as long as you're cleaning your brushes normally at the end of a session, then you shouldn't have a problem. Cornflake, how's the Ninja signature series sell? Every single signature set sells about the same pace, believe it or not. Every now and then there's bumps. This last month, Vince saw a little bump in the dark jade and the royal purple. I'm not sure why. Maybe there was a video on YouTube. Sometimes we don't catch them all. That usually we'll see bumps from certain things. But other than that, you would think they were all just identical to other colors. There are some real highlights, like the royal purple, the dark jade, the advanced skin tone, the heavy warm white and heavy titanium whites that stand head and shoulders above some of the rest. But that changes, you know, month to month. It's funny, as a paint manufacturer, when you look at the colors, you can't. It's hard because, you know, we go through this whole deal where it's like, okay, let's forecast for sales, and you're like, I have to call all the content creators and say, what video is coming out next month? Because how do you forecast? I don't know. What sold great this one? I don't know. Deadbeat says he agrees with Jen because he's in Canada, so it's sold out. Do you only shop with, like, the one store you go to is sold out of them? Do they have them on the rack, though? Because remember, there are singles and sets. So make sure you check both if you have a FLGS or a online store that you use most of the time, Deadbeat. And they just had a big shipment leave yesterday, I think. 4 or 5 pallets are on the way to Canada right now.
Big old order. for those Canadians.
Ghost says it's kind of funny. I went into signature sets thinking I liked John's more, but it turns out you use Vince's way more.
They're both really good. There are like particularly the dark magenta and the warm brown out of John's set. I really love. Those are two absolutely incredible colors that I use all the time.
Yep. Claude says, I have a model that I was having delivered to your local GW store, so it was free. The first 2 times UPS tried to deliver was the day the store wasn't open. No. Oh, no. James says, what about washes? Washes, depending. Again, I kind of treat them the same because the whole nature of a wash is to draw further on surfaces, and so the capillary action on a brush will cause it to draw up into the ferrule quicker than a normal paint. And so, if Jordan, can you show what the ferrule is real quick?
Yeah.
So the ferrule there with a wash, the paint is used to getting into that area where his fingernail was up above right there. It'll draw up, and that's the hardest place to clean. Yeah. So, but we face that every day as miniature painters because a lot of time we're thinning our paints to a lower viscosity from the get-go for glazing or whatever you're doing. Just the fact that they're liquid acrylics instead of paste acrylics starts that process right off the bat. So you're always dealing with paint drawing up into the ferrule and into that invisible part of the brush, that part you can't see, which are the bristles that are up in the bundle, drawn up into the ferrule. And so cleaning that is nigh impossible. Our brush soap does a very good job of kind of vacuuming particles out of that and drawing them back out into the rest of the bristles. But washes will build up more pigment over time in that area. So a lot of times I will take a brush and that'll be my wash brush, and I just kind of know that one, if I use it, no matter how much I clean it over time, it will tend to deteriorate quicker. You'll notice that whenever you get a lot of paint load in the ferrule, that the bristles won't hold a tip anymore. They'll start to spread a little bit, and it's because of all of the constriction of the bristles at the base, not anything with the point of the brush. So, washing can be a dirty, contrast paints, things like that can be a really dirty way of painting as well. But I mean, I have to be honest, I kind of just pick whatever brush I'm using that fits the job too. If you're putting wash all over an entire model, you probably don't care. You can use an old sloppy brush. But if you're trying to do pen washes and specific placement of paint, then I would say I recommend using the brush that you feel like does the job best, like with any other paint, and not worry so much about the material you're putting on the brush. Again, focus more on cleaning your brushes, and none of these have a big problem to them. Cornflake, take it easy. Have a great night.
See, Cornflake.
Payne's Gray is just the key to your heart. Payne's Gray is great. One thing you didn't expect was how messy contrast paint is in the airbrush. Cleaning it out sucks. Yeah, and to me, it doesn't really do anything other than the filter your normal paint would do anyway. So just get good at thinning your normal paint. You save yourself a lot of hassle.
I'm cleaning out the brush now, getting it a little damp. I'm doing these little circular motions on the paper to get all the...
Tim, yeah, use the brush goop after every session is your best plan of action. Then, like I said, then you don't really have to worry so much about what you're painting, in the world of acrylics, metallics, washes, whatever. Some of the heavier polyurethane stuff like the contrast or big like primer, if you're brushing on primer and stuff like that, you may want to clean the brush quicker so it doesn't set up. But
I think the other thing too,
Mo, what's happening?
Worth noting is that when you are doing dry brushing, you don't want to use a ton of pressure. That's one of the things that'll really mess up your brush, and you'll get too much paint down into the ferrule as well if you're dry brushing. Is if you're pressing too hard, you're gonna muck up the brush. So.
Back off on the handle is the easy way to get that used to that. Is don't hold it like you would normally hold the brush up close to the ferrule. Hold it like back like he's doing right now, almost at the tail end of the handle, because then you're not going to get the same leverage on the model. And while you may feel like you don't have the same level of detail that way, I mean, it's not really what you're going for with a dry brush anyway. If you are, you can choke up on the brush. Just make sure you do it with an easy application. Not much pressure.
Well, that's good.
When was the big brush restock that sold out immediately
Tim asks.
It was a while ago.
August, July.
It was end of June, early July.
End of June, early July. Yeah. Yep. But sables always sell quickly. We haven't had sable sets in a while now here, out of the last batch. But we should have sables restocking in the next 2 weeks. So actually, next week. What is today? What's the date today?
It's the 6th.
Today Wednesday?
Yeah.
Wednesday the 6th. 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th. Maybe Monday, Tuesday?
For restock on...
For us to start final QC on the next batch. So I would think by end of next week or beginning of the following week, you should start seeing all the sable sets back in. I think. I'll have more data next week, but that feels about right. How you been, Mo? Good to see you. Lone Samurai, flick and swish.
Flick and a swish. I'm making up a little bit of a kind of a glaze, kind of contrasty speed paint type mix of paint here. Thin it down just a touch. Using a bunch of glaze and wash medium.
What's that for?
This is for all the red on the tanks.
Aha.
And then I'm going to do in
the front.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like it.
So where do they typically put like color on like historical tanks? I didn't do a lot of like research on like historical stuff to kind of get an idea of where those spots of color would go.
Sides of turret, you got to remember that anything they would have put on a tank was there for unit identification.
Right.
So if it was in a combat theater...
I'll just throw back my legs and pollute my
Shade.
britches with delight.
Shade Spiller, thank you so much for the Twitch Prime. Thank you. 5 months, much appreciated. The unit markings and designations would be done so that infantry, other vehicles could see you. So generally side of turret, side of hull.
Okay.
Like where your red is right now, you might put like a unit number or something like that.
Okay.
Side of turret would give you like maybe the actual unit designation within its battalion or whatever,
so like
if it had a number or something on it. And then sometimes on the top of the rear deck or top of turret if it was in a theater that had air combat.
Okay, cool.
Right. And those would generally be like, big crosses or symbols that were easily recognizable from 1,000 feet or something like that, right? So that, hey, don't bomb me.
I definitely want to put some like chaos stars and stuff on these.
Oh, well then I'm not helping.
Because they're traitor.
Well then I have no answers. I'm not helping.
Wow, you already gave me the answer though.
Filthy. You led me into that one, and I feel very bad about it now.
Yay! We got him. We got him, chat.
Mo says, Baby J, how long did it take to assemble the box of stuff? He still has like half of them unassembled, so.
Well,
he says every tank takes 12 hours.
Gosh darn it. You're throwing me under the bus, gosh darn it. You
literally said that yesterday.
The tanks do take a while to assemble.
You said that it took you all weekend just to assemble like 15 tanks.
Yeah.
That's 15 million hours a tank.
So I built, let's see here.
Friend,
12,
not food.
Yeah, 17 tanks took me the better part of the weekend. Now, I was spending...
Mo, have you ever done Flames of War? They look very similar to the Flames of War sprues.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. All the infantry guys, it's all just...
You clip them and put them on the base.
Clip them and put them on the
Again,
base,
like Flames of War. If you ever built Flames of War, same thing. A little bit different scale, same thing. But the models look really good. The detail on the tanks is bitchin'.
Oh yeah, there's tons of little.
They're
bits
not
and
like
bobs.
the old epic stuff or like the Space Marine stuff where it was like the whole Rhino was in one piece on the sprue. Although I would almost sacrifice the detail to get back to that. I would have bought this box and been painting it with Baby J had they gone back to that.
To do what again?
Well, in the original Space Marine, which was the OG epic.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
The original Space Marine game, all the tanks were one piece. You didn't glue anything together. Even the Land Raiders, everything was one piece. They were done like Monopoly pieces. They felt like, right? I don't think there was anything that had separate pieces except for maybe. Oh yeah, there was. The jet bikes or the land speeders. I think came in two pieces. They had a center piece and another piece that like glued on top of it or something like that.
Interesting. Okay.
You were hoping the detail was as good as the Titanicus models. It seems to be.
Yeah, it
seems
is.
to be.
Lone
is
Samurai
generally
says,
really
yeah, and metal too. Only for the other stuff outside of the main box set, right? The original box set was all plastic, I believe, but all of the other faction stuff, like especially when they made like squats and things like that, that was all metal, which was not fun. I only ever had, I mean, I probably had some squat models that I remember, like the buggies passed through my hands over the years, and some other metal ones, but I really only ever focused on the plastic kit stuff. Your old Epic Land Raiders were metal from Epic Armageddon? The old Space Marines one. Yeah, the old Space Marines ones were all plastic, right? But when they started doing the blister ones, yeah, they had metal ones. But those weren't were those the Proteus style Land Raider, or had they already moved to the new one?
Which ones?
Well, when they
Epic?
did, because they did, Epic's been through a lot of well, maybe not a lot of revisions, but it started out as Space Marine. And it literally had Space Marines and Rhinos and a couple of Land Raiders and Titans. Yeah, 93, 94. Yeah, because then by the early 2000s, Armageddon and Forge World had started doing them and making metals again and some resins and all of that. And so you could buy, again, 3 packs of Land Raiders, but they were the newer style of Land Raider. Yeah, early 2000s Lone Samurai, exactly.
Definitely happier with this extending all the way out to the edge instead of just on the inside. I think it looks a lot better. Nice little bit of interesting detail there. And I kind of want to put a Chaos Star back on this side somewhere. Gotta figure out what color I want to do that in.
I mean, on some of them, instead of doing the red stripe at the front, you could do like half of the Chaos Star, like semicircle at the front of the tank going backwards.
Ooh,
I think that would look better than trying to
look
do
really
them both on there.
But
do ever, I mean, you know.
What do you think, red or should I do white? So my colors here are black, like a greenish gray, and red, with like dark bronze, like metallic armor.
White would give you a really cool contrast.
That was kind of what I was
You
thinking.
could do that inside the red stripe that you've done. You could just do a small semicircle and then some lines with arrow tips.
Yeah.
You know, up around that front gear.
It'd be cool to have them.
Ash from Gorilla Miniature Games has a great history video for this that talks about all the previous versions, starting with the original Adeptus Titanicus. I think the original was called Space Marine, right?
I think it was, yeah.
Death from Impulsor went to the model store in New Hampshire today, and I was looking for smaller models to practice on. They're sold out, so you bought the Leviathan box set. It's a good set. Some really neat models in the Leviathan set. I've always been a real fan of how Epic looks on the table because it feels like what you want 40K to be, or what you want Warhammer sci-fi to be.
Yes.
Because you have so much involved in the battle, model-wise. The model count isn't nearly as... It was not very different, if at all, from a game of 40K. The amount of bases you have on the table is very similar. But the difference comes into play when you look at the fact that each stand is 5 guys, you know, or 5 guys and a commander, you know, and you have tons of little tanks as opposed to, you know, just being more foot soldiers. And so it just visually feels more like massive war.
Yeah, it feels really cool.
Yeah. It's not, yeah, a lot of people I think feel like, oh God, I got to paint 500 models. It's not really that many more models, if at all.
No.
Depending on how you build your army, you can still make it with 30 bases or something like that that would be smaller than your normal, like, Space Marine army for 40K. That's all up to you.
Well, and the thing is, too...
You just get more cool stuff because you get tanks and titans and all the fun stuff,
Yeah.
right?
The Space Marines themselves and, like, the Solar Auxilia infantry models, you can spend so little time on those. Like,
A couple bases and then wash it and done.
Yeah, exactly.
Flip them out. Paint them on the sprue, for crying out loud.
That's what I'm doing, yeah.
Yeah, paint them on the sprue. Flip them out. Right.
The tanks, honestly, the tanks and the larger stuff is where you're going to spend the bulk of your time, right? Like doing all the little cool stuff on the side of your tanks,
Yeah.
doing your hazard striping on the side of,
Yeah, like how
that
much
stuff.
detail do you want? 'Cause
Right,
you can go
exactly.
nuts
And you
with
can
it if you
do
want.
as little or as much as you want. I think because these are bigger and they have more of a footprint on the table, they look really cool from, a little bit further away. Like if I put these two guys together and I zoom out and I kind of turn them to the side a little bit so you can see that like profile, that looks really cool on the table, especially once I put those like white, chaos stars on there. That's going to look really neat. Plus once you get all the rest of the detail and you get all the like the silver trim and all that, you do the tracks and all that, it's going to look really cool.
Yeah, I've never understood, and this is nothing against Gale Force 9 or any of the people involved with things like Flames of War, but I've never understood how a game like Flames of War has had so much traction over the years. I get it, there's a historic group of gamers that are going to love it because it's a historic game environment, and then a game like this, right, like Epic and Titanicus don't then just dwarf them in popularity. That's always been odd to me. And it from a standpoint of, okay, who is the target audience for these style games in this small scale? Because there are some games out there that do very well. A lot of historics are in this scale. Matt, one of our guys here, is painting up his Civil War armies right now from Warlord.
Yep.
And, he's got his Union and Confederate armies he's painting up. He's got 5 million little dudes. I mean, holy hell.
He has even more dudes than I do.
It's an incredibly involved, tremendous amount of dudes game.
It's a lot, yeah.
Like each stand has like 10 guys on it, and there's 100 stands per faction.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
He brought a box to work that he's been painting on. He has his go bag Evo set up on one of the game tables out in our common area. And every day during lunch and his break, he will sit and paint. And he has his half of the box, like the box lid for the game from Warlord Games here. And it's just loaded with miniatures. And I kept coming by and I go, oh my God, that makes me want to break out in a cold sweat. I got to get out of here. It's just so many models and teeny weeny, so many models. And the day he looked at me and said, oh yeah, that's just half.
You were like, what?
I was like, excuse me? Because I think I'd asked him, I said, oh, is this just the Confederate, or do they all have the same hats? And he goes, yes, that is just the Confederate, and yes, they do all just have the same hat. All the miniatures are the same exact miniatures, regardless of side of the war they were on. So, but, I don't understand how a game like this doesn't do equally as well, if not better, than a game like Flames of War. Because this gives you a lot more creativity on your visuals because it has a lot more unit styles.
Yep.
The historic games are limited to what you had. And, while there are the fictitious tanks and things that you can bring into it, like the Mouse or the E100 and things like that never really saw the light of day, you can still get miniatures for them and paint them. So there's some fun there. Yag Tigers and things like that really weren't in force in the war that you can put in your army. But, typically it's just a bunch of redundancy, and those tanks weren't really anything that you spend a lot of time making funky. You can go ahead and put camo on them and stuff that really wasn't something that was overblown in the war.
Yeah.
But this is just let you go wild. Like you're asking about, like, where can I put my chaos symbols?
Yeah, no, and that's
really
the
make
cool
this
part.
army look the way you want to, and then play at that scale and get that grand combat feel from it. So it's interesting to me.
I think it definitely appeals to all the people like myself who love to see huge armies on the table.
Yeah.
Which I like that. Just the idea of like.
Hey, can you imagine
cool
how many
terrain.
points this would be if you played it in 40K?
Ridiculous.
Yeah, come on.
It would be ridiculous. Yeah. I mean, like each of these Malcadors is like. I pointed out a list because I was like curious what an actual Horus Heresy Solar Auxilia army looked like, and these are like 305 points when you kind of kit them out.
Oh yeah.
So I have 4 of these right now, and that's like I think you get 2 of these for like 150
Well, and
points.
realize at one point in time that was a super heavy.
Right.
They called it a super heavy.
Oh really? Oh dang. So
I'm pretty sure the Malcadors were considered like super heavy.
yeah, you get 2 Malcadors for 125, 150 points in LI.
Yeah.
So Like, that's a pretty significant cut in points as a ratio, right?
Gosu, they're cheap on the tabletop. Yeah, they die quick too. It turns out
They do. I mean, they're not.
cheap stuff dies quicker.
They probably hold up pretty good in Horus Heresy. I was looking at the
Crasher
rules.
says you're not sitting in the comfy chair today. What gives? I'm producing the show. Jen is gone. Gabe is gone. Everybody's sick. Just me and Baby J holding the fort down.
We're holding the fort down.
Well, we're really not doing a whole lot. The guys on the other side of the building are holding the fort down.
That is accurate.
Boys' night.
Boys' night.
You played some Drop Fleet Commander, which was originally designed by Andy Chambers. Yep.
Yep.
They also have Drop Zone Commander, which is more like, Drop Zone is the ground combat stuff.
I really like that stuff.
Drop Fleet is the space combat stuff. We had a gumption around here to do a like, I forget what the book. Ruben would have to jump on here and tell us.
Oh, the space battle game.
Yeah, there's a space battle rule set that is really good, but it only had very few miniatures. But it's generic enough you can create whatever you want because it has all of the doctrines for the different ship sizes and how you would. The game plays well, and so we all bought fleets or I found fleets of ships that we could then play this rule set by. And I had some old Firestorm Armada ships that I found.
Well, you bought a bunch of PHR too, right?
Oh, I did buy some PHR. Yeah, I bought a PHR starter set too. But then it was because I couldn't find my
Right. That's what it was.
Whatever it is,
Yeah.
Firestorm Armada. I couldn't find those, so I bought some PHR from Drop Fleet, and then I found my Firestorm stuff. So now I can use my Firestorm stuff, which I like better. The models are cooler. Is it core space? I don't know. Maybe.
Too bad Ruben's not listening.
Ruben works.
He does.
Ruben makes the paint.
Unlike that old cat.
Careful.
No, I know.
Phil will come tackle you. You will bleed.
Yeah, definitely.
But I like smaller scale stuff. I think that for some people, how to put this, especially if you're new to miniatures, you learn miniatures in terms of, for I think, easily 90% of the people that find miniature games, they don't find them at this scale. They find them at scales where it's 28 millimeter. It's Space Marines and Orcs and all of the stuff that's marketed heavily for miniature games. And so when you have that in your head that a Space Marine is, 2.5 inches tall and this wide and on this size base, that when you pick up a tank like this, it seems less. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think that there's definitely a psychology to how you purchase things, right? That's why, they put more food on plates nowadays in the U.S. That's why they do all this crap to bigger packaging to make you think you're getting more and all of that. There's a psychology to how you spend your money. And I think for a lot of companies, they fall victim to that, and people fall victim to that, thinking that, I don't want to play a game that just has a bunch of little dudes in it. Like those guys on the table there are, 5 millimeters tall?
Yeah.
And you're like, meh, I'd rather buy Space Marines. And you're like, but these are Space Marines, and the game is built around Space Marines. And, I've always, as many people who have played this scale of game, like Titanicus and things like that, have said over the years, you'll catch in any forum group, someone will post a forum once a month at minimum about how, hey, I've really thought about doing a campaign where we start with Battlefleet Gothic. And we fight in space above a planet and play Battlefleet Gothic, which is even smaller scale than this, technically. The ships can be very big models, but they're kilometers long, so it's a much reduced scale, like maybe 0.5 millimeter, if even that. And you play Battlefleet Gothic to determine space control superiority, and that would give you your drop placement, how many forces you could put on the planet based on how many of your ships survived or got through a blockade or whatever. And then you would go play Epic, right? And your Epic would be this scale. So now you've gone up in scale from Battlefleet to this scale where you fight big, massive combat. And then depend on who the victor is, determines how many points you get for the next phase to play. And you take units that, like you see these 5-man stands that Baby J has out, that would become a 5-man unit of whatever those are, Solar Auxiliary in this case. But it could be 5 Space Marines, right? And so now you have a unit of Space Marines that you play in Horus Heresy or 40K, and you get down to that granular level where you might have one of your tanks and a couple of units of Space Marines and a jet bike and a dreadnought or something, and be able to play through that. And now you're talking about a campaign that would be the absolute most immersive way to play tabletop wargaming imaginable.
Yep.
Right?
It would be
and if you wanted to go further than that, they used to have the 40K RPG. And people would be like, okay, so we played it to where we got the 40K level done, and then after that, you take your warband of one character in the RPG, and you DM it for the finale of getting into the temple and destroying the obelisk or whatever it was that started this whole thing off, right? And your war gear that you get for your one character that survives is based on how well you did in the campaign. Now you're talking about a way that you're like, how immersed do you want to get? Because I just showed you an entire novel's worth of play in 40K or Horus Heresy, all inside similar game systems. And you house rule it however you need and things like that. That's amazing, right? All those scales work very well together. So I always try to tell people, don't worry about, this is just more Space Marines. There's nothing wrong with more of a good thing. Estrello says, one game combo I always thought was cool was EVE Online, the spaceship game component, and Dust 514. It's a bummer that Dust 514 failed so miserably. It really is. It had some really neat aspirations. I think it was way before its time. Way before its time. Because they really spent a lot of money in development on VR for it, which was wrong thing to do back in the day. Right? But Dust 514, the concept of it was great. It just had real janky. Like, it never made it, as we all know if we played it. Playing EVE at the time, you could take only a destroyer, right? The Tech 3 destroyers or whatever. I don't remember which ones they were, right? The ones with all the broadsides and stuff. And you could take those to a planet and you could bombard the planet. You couldn't take any other ship. You had to take those ships, right? And you could do stuff, but it was crazy. Yeah, and console only, and it was weird. I just feel like maybe the player base was not the player base that they needed. I mean, they had like a tablet thing where you could command stuff, but you couldn't play the game, really.
That's obnoxious.
But well, you could see what was going on in the game because it's a living universe of online multiplayer. You could see what was going on, and you could allocate resources and things like that from your data slate.
Mm-hmm.
So you could still be in the game as a commander.
That's kind of cool.
Or you could be on boots on the ground on your console, which I played on PlayStation, I think. And it was a first-person shooter. And the first-person shooter part was never dialed in very well. It never felt very good as a game. Otherwise, it could have made it on its own as just a great sci-fi shooter. But it just wasn't that great.
Well, huzzah, huzzah. I'll just throw back my legs and pollute my
Rocket
britches with
Chicken,
delight.
thank you so much. Are you kidding me? 84 months?
Holy crap.
Impossible, Rocket Chicken. I'm not even that old.
That's a long time. Yeah, have you been subscribed for that long?
It's like it's defying time. It's defying
Is there
time. He went
something
back
you
in
know
time and
about that I
created
don't?
Twitch. And created the Twitch. Do you realize that 84 months is literally 7 years? How stupid is that?
That's stupid.
Rocket Chicken, I love you. This is real love here, people. 84 months. Thank you so much. You do miss Eve a lot, but God, I don't have the time or gumption to get back into it. Man, I stare at it every year or two and think, because I'll find a video on YouTube where they're talking about, it's like, is Eve worth getting into in 2023? And I'll watch it like the gullible sucker I am. And I'll watch it because I spent untold hours and years in Eve, played everything it had to offer, loved most of it, hated some of it, and then left it. I left Eve when I went on the road for my motorcycle business, and I lived on the road, and I couldn't reliably play it because I was an FC, right? And so I couldn't command a fleet on crappy 3G internet back in the day. So I just quit playing because it wasn't fun. And I've always thought about going back because it's out of all the games I've ever played, multiplayer, it's the one that always stuck. The social interactions were always great. The game itself, the depth, the ability to affect the game was great. But holy hell, is it a job? It was a
job.
I have heard things about that.
Who did you fly with in Eve? So the last major corp that I was with was called Pizza Incorporated, and we owned a size 5 wormhole with a, believe it or not, it was a size 5 with a high sec. No, I think size 3 was as big as you could get high sec. It had a size 3 and a size 6 static. So it was incredible territory because we would farm the size 6 and our size 5 all the time. And then we would raid 0-0 all the time. We were a whole bunch of cocky frigate PvPers. And so we would blot out the sun with our frigates. We would go into 0-0 into like test space and things like that. And we would find miners and we would bubble them up and say we wouldn't blow them up as long as they came to the sun and fought us in PvP. Win, lose, or draw.
Come fight me.
WAD. We lived in a size 5. But it had a size 6 static and a size 3 static. I'm not sure about the small static. It wasn't high sec because you couldn't have a high sec touch a 5 as a static back then, at least. But it was a size 3. Our high sec chain was usually pretty easy. WAD, you don't know what that means? A size 6, get right out of town. Okay, well, wormholes had size 1 to size 6, and they were just more dangerous as you went up. It didn't really have anything to do with size. Well, it did because it was the amount of mass you could put through the hole before it would close. I said that out loud on stream, and I think we're going to get...
You drew attention to it.
How much mass can you put through the hole, chat?
It wasn't weird until you made it.
How do people
weird.
even stream wormhole content on Twitch? Like, it seems like you're just asking for a terms of service problem.
They probably don't.
Day.
They probably do not.
Your buddy, you had a corp in university, but we just didn't time after a while. Got bogged down. Didn't have time. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. Jason, get another banana. Lone Samurai says, banana!
Get another banana, Jason.
Oh, has this become a thing now? Banana? I have to make eye contact? How much mass can you put through the hole?
Well, don't say it again.
But, I mean, I'm there already.
No.
Monument Hobbies, sponsored by Bad Dragon. They're right down the street. They're really not. They're up north, I think. I didn't really ask him where they were. Last corp you flew was a Muck, the stealth ship wing of Goonswarm. But before that, I was with Mindstar Technologies and Executive Outcomes. Mindstar Technologies, I don't know. Obviously, everybody knows Goons. A bunch of the guys from Goons, when Star Citizen started up, went over and made Test Squadron. I was a part of Test Squadron at the beginning of Star Citizen, and a bunch of those guys were Goons. But they had another corp in Star Citizen, or another, well, it's not called a corp, I don't think, but I'm in Nova Corp in Star Citizen now, although I do not participate. I haven't participated in like a year and a half, 2 years.
They made a lot of changes to that game since you played. Like a lot.
Eve University. Everybody is at war with Eve University. Exactly. Eve U had some pretty amazing pilots. It would always come and go, right? But a lot of people would go play in Eve U just for the PvP.
Were they big on the PvP?
Yeah, well, because everybody would wage war on them all the time. That was just the going thing. You can declare war from one corp to another. You could declare war on the university, and that was all the noobs. Initially, Eve U was like the starter corp that you could join if you were a new player. It evolved past that, but yeah. So if you were in low-sec, you'd find Eve Uni players all the time, and if they didn't know what a war deck was, all of a sudden you'd just have PvP targets all over the place. I laugh about it because it's so horrible. It was such a horrible gaming experience. You would get these people fresh into the game. They would learn through chat or through looking around online that join Eve U, you'll learn and you'll get, because they had like organized flight times where you would get an FC that would teach you the ins and outs of combat. Yeah. And you would go and fly, and it was really great. I started there. A lot of people I know started their journey through Eve in Eve U, and you would find and then they get war decked by like a big clan or a big corporation. And when you have a war deck, you're fair game in space to fight. Yeah. Right? Because you're at war. Uh-huh. But these guys wouldn't know. So they're just flying around and they get popped. You just get popped, you know? It's like, oh, well,
Poor-
there goes your expensive ship.
Poor newbies.
You would get potted 5 minutes into mining with EView. Exactly. And you didn't know. And these people, I mean, talk about a horrible gaming experience, because these people are like, why do these people keep killing me? And how come nobody does about it? You know, how come the cops don't get them? It's like, well, is there a war declared? And they're like, I don't know. What does that even mean? I was
Yeah, it's
"We
like, what does
probably
that
ought to
mean?"
check. Well, if you go to Eve Uni's chat, the way the chats and everything worked is you would go and it would always state at the beginning, please check the war decks, you know, and you'd have to see who you're at war with and there's a war on, and, you know, stay out of these sectors. And you got to mind your P's and Q's in Eve. That's the biggest thing to take away from it. It is not a friendly game.
No.
It doesn't mean it can't be a fun game for everybody that wants to play it, but you got to put a different attitude on to go play
It also doesn't hold your hand, right? Like that's that Eve does not care about you.
Yeah.
It's like, here's a sandbox that you can have fun playing in. Good luck.
Yeah, it's gotten better. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to load it back up, is because the new player experience is actually pretty good now. But it's still crazy. You get red on the gun on the front?
Yeah, I'm gonna paint it over in.
Okay. Oh, it's got to be metal anyway.
Yeah.
Monument Eve Corp, not a chance, man. Not a chance. I'll set it up and you guys run it and just send me ISK. How about that?
You're gonna collect your ISK every
I'll just make sure I'm constantly training my 9 bajillion skill point guy anyway, and then I'll max him out and then I'll sell it. I got a tithe. I'll take a tithe. I owned my own class 3 wormhole at one point in time, and that was the worst experience I had in Eve after a point. It was one that was, it had a high sec static and was prime real estate. I bought it off a guy that was leaving the game in my corp for super cheap. I think I paid him like 150 real world dollars for it, and sent him the PayPal. And he gave me the coordinates, and I flew up there, and sure enough, wormhole was open. Got in, set my stick up, got the bubble up, got everything energized, went and had to get however much ice or whatever the hell, I think it's ice that you had to do to generate power for your stick. And I had enough ice to generate power for months and months and months, because I was Eve rich from my class 5 wormhole corp that I was in. You'd make bajillions of ISK every time you went out and PvE'd. And I'm like, you know, now we got a class 3, and I got like 2 or 3 guys that were good friends of mine to come in and run the class 3 with me. And we would just run class 3 sites because we could all solo the class 3 sites, right? So you'd solo the sites and everything. And you're always watching for, it was good PvP because you'd get high sec people that as they were going through the game would get to the point where you learn to scan down targets, and you'd scan down wormhole. And these noobs would come in and they'd scan the wormhole and find the wormhole and come through the wormhole, right? And
then you'd catch them.
And you'd catch them because, you know, you'd see a new signal coming in, or, you know, because if you're good in a wormhole, you're scanning. You've got your probes out and you're scanning every time you kill a PvE contact. You scan, right? And you'd be running sites, and every time you'd pop a bogey and scan, pop a bogey, scan. So you're scanning all the time, watching your scanner if you're good. And you'd finally get a new thing, and you'd leave the site. And or go off into the distance and scan the site, because those people would come in and scan the sites. That's why you would come into wormholes, scan to run sites, because there's good money in the PvE salvage that you get in the sites.
Yeah.
And so they'd come in and run, and so you'd leave the site, they'd fly into the site, and some of them weren't smart enough to know that, because there's like all this scrap from dead ships in the site, they just start shooting whatever was left. But you had already aggroed the site.
Yeah.
So you couldn't properly pull the site. They would just start shooting you. Sometimes a site would just kill them.
Oh God.
You'd have people that fly in frigates. It's their first time into a class 3, or they don't even know the difference. They fly into a wormhole, find the site, fly into the site, like warp directly to the site instead of, you know, some distance off. And if you had already been fighting in the site, the mobs were already aggroed, they'd fly in, and guess who's the bad guy now?
Yep. It's like, oh, hey, there's a guy here.
Turns out that some of those NPCs are pretty brutal, especially if you're not prepared for it. But a lot of times we just jump them. They'd fly into a site and start farming the site. I would log in, and I would scan the wormhole. You would log off, I don't know, however many kilometers off of north or south of the tip of the pole. So when you logged in, you're in your ship outside of your base, just in case somebody was attacking your base. And then you'd scan before you'd go to the stick. And I'd scan around and see and you'd find some schmuck running your sites, which always pissed me off because they reset every 24 hours.
Oh yeah, that's annoying.
So you get on to run sites, and then somebody would be running your sites, and fate is that you'd always catch them on like the next to the last site that had spawned that day, and so you'd get mad. So I'd fly in and beat them up, blow them up inside of a wormhole, which is always bad because they can't get out because they can't scan in their pod. So you make them pay you, pot them. Otherwise, you just leave them stuck in the wormhole.
Oh no!
A lot of them wouldn't have set locations to get out. So they'd be in your pod, and I was nice. I'm like, I'll let you go. Like, I don't have the hole. Can you give me the coordinates to the hole? I'd be like, I don't know, a billion ISK, and you either ransom them out the coordinates of the hole, or they'd have to fly into the sun and kill themselves.
Oh my gosh. Cutthroat.
Jason, ethical with paints, a shark, and Eve. I wasn't really a shark. That's just Eve.
That's just
Man, I
Eve.
was super nice in Eve. Our as an FC, I would fly our fleet into, and most of the time we flew with frigates with very little logi. If you don't know Eve speak, none of this is going to make sense to you, but healing ships or logistical ships. And so we had very little healing ships. And we would go, and like I said, we would find miners mining in 0-0. We would find a way out of the wormhole and go down a 0-0 chain. We would jump system to system in 0-0, being loud, talking in chat, right? Which is, we're not trying to be silent. We're not sneaking up on you. The way Eve works is that there's security levels. There's high sec where everybody talks in chat and everything's known. Yep. In low sec, everything's known for position and stuff like high sec. It's just that your security rating is lower and PvP is active. Yep. In 0-0, low sec and null sec, null sec, nobody talks. Because if you talk in chat, people know you're there and they'll pinpoint you and just blow you up, right? So you just don't talk in chat because there's no notification that a ship has come online in the system unless somebody talks. So it's very, very scary, especially if you're out mining, right? Because you just don't know what's going on. You got to continually scan.
Yeah, keep your eyes peeled.
Yeah, and usually you don't do it solo. I mean, maybe you do. Maybe you're a nutcase. But a lot of times you'll have multiple people. Like you'll have some combat backup or somebody at your base and system that's, scanning for you or something so that you don't just get jumped. Somebody's sitting at gates to see if gates trigger. Because you tell the gate fires. So if you have a system that's at an end of a chain is very safe because there's only one gate in and out. But Wormhole changed all that because wormholes can just show up. Like we can just open up a wormhole into 0-0 into your area that normally just has one gate.
But what the heck?
And now all of a sudden the gate hasn't triggered. Nothing's happened. And there's a huge fleet attacking you because we came through the wormhole. Yeah, so Wormholes was great. It changed play dramatically when they introduced it. I loved it. But we would come through with a bunch of frigate fleet, or maybe cruisers or something, and we'd come through and want a PvP. We just wanted PvP. There was a big dearth of PvP when I stopped playing, which was 2009. PvP was almost impossible to get unless you were in 0-0. And so we'd bring big fleets, and we would say, hey, we'll PvP. You can either bring a fleet or do it 1v1, and we'll just go to the sun, right? And we would warp to the sun with our whole fleet, and we'd sit at the sun and talk in chat. They knew we were there. I was like, we're not trying to steal your stuff. We're not trying to gank you. We're not going to hold you hostage.
We just want to fight.
Just want to fight. We want good PvP. So call your court mates, wake them up, get them loaded in, and let's PvP. And, we can do PvP for pods if you want to get, because obviously your PvP record would, you based a PvP record based on how much ISK you've destroyed. Right.
Okay.
And so a lot of times pods are very expensive in 0-0 because a lot of people have implants in that are very expensive for mining or whatever.
Okay.
But we can either play for pods or not. I mean, literally, we could just sit there and give them. We would let them decide how they wanted to PvP. And if they got scared, and most of the time they would call carriers in. People would jump carriers or dreadnoughts in on us and just wipe us off the board. I'm like, dude, we're in frigates. Like we're trying to be nice to you. So if they would do that, then we would have carriers on the other side of the bubble, and we would jump our carriers in, and we would blow their fleet up. Like, hey, you want to play that way?
It's like, we can also play that way.
Our home is literally on the other side of that bubble, and we have more ships than could blot the sun out. You know,
Yeah.
don't be mean. And we'd run back down the chain, grab our expensive ship, jump carriers through, and fight them. It takes a lot to siege a base, so you don't usually do that because that takes days. But, Jade, take it easy. Have a great night.
Bye, Jade. What time is it? Oh, hey, look at that.
Yeah, it's time.
It is time.
Mining ops were super fun.
Well, I got a decent amount of stuff done today.
Ghost Hunter says we should all reinstall. You'd think the way I talk about it that I would have a hard time not playing the game, but I also, in amongst those conversations, know exactly why I don't install Eve anymore. Jen would not talk to me anymore because I would try to FC and run sites and run PvP fleets and stuff like that, and it takes hours and hours.
Is that bad?
To set it up and do it. Oh yeah, it's interesting. Hello, new guy Phil.
Hi, new guy Phil.
Hey, have you checked the doors?
Yeah, I locked the front door. I haven't checked the back. Back real quick.
Maybe just real quick, just make sure that the back door is locked. It usually isn't, but the one day we think it's not, somebody will come walking in here.
Well, thank you everybody for hanging out with me today and Jason. We're all on our lonesome here without Jen El Sicarino at home. Hopefully she's feeling better. Jen, hope you are feeling better.
Game Billy says my kid was a fuel rat for a little while in Elite Dangerous, flying fuel out to stranded ships. I heard those guys had a lot of fun. I thankfully never had to call them. Elite Dangerous was another one. It was really fun. Lone Samurai, have a great night.
Are we gonna throw up some links for the chat?
Oh, I gotta do things.
Yeah, you're like the producer
I'm
guy.
over here talking about video games. It
Well,
doesn't matter anymore.
Well, Jason throws up some links in chat for you.
I think the people that made Eve sold it. Like a Chinese company or something. Elite Dangerous might reinstall it just to fly for a day and then remember why it was so boring you uninstalled in the first place. What's that? See you, Paul. Have a good one.
Paul's just asking if I were going to Samurai today, which I am.
Store. Oh no, that's wrong. It's this one. Store.
It's been a while since you did this.
I don't do this. CCP still own and run it. 10 Cent bought the rights for Chinese.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, gotcha.
Aaron is raiding. Why is it always that people
Right at the
raid right as we're closing up?
We're finishing.
I feel like that's just a thing that happens on Twitch all the time. Hi, Aaron.
AC
Hi,
Miniatures.
Raiders.
What's going on, Raiders?
Also, goodbye.
Bye.
Womp.
It's great to have you here. Unfortunately, I've got to get the heck out of here.
Yeah, you picked like the one day that we can't stay late because Jen's home sick. I got to get done here and then probably take dinner home.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Hey, Aaron, thank you so much.
Thank you,
welcome,
though.
Raiders.
Welcome.
If you do not know who we are Monument Hobbies. We are the manufacturers of Pro Acryl and Pro Series brushes and Go Bags and all the other wonderful stuff in the world.
I've got 2 kinds of wet in my pants.
Thanks again
too.
for the raid, Aaron. Good to see you. I hope your stream went well. But yeah, we stream 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 2 to 4 p.m. U.S. Mountain Standard Time, which is Arizona. And we'd love to see you back here, even though you won't get much time with us today if you just came in on the raid. Professional Paint League, they have a bounty for you. We do? Wait a minute. We're nice people. We don't announce our bounties out loud.
Correct.
That gets you in trouble in court.
Those are all hidden under lock and key. We don't talk about those things.
But we'd love to
Silent
see you back
bounties.
here. We are going to close up shop for today. We with a link for the store, the FLGS link. Oh, Deadbeat's already got it. Discord link. There you go. I don't have to do my job.
Dang.
Fantastic. Deadbeat
Dang,
artist.
These guys.
You're hired. We pay in leftover pizza. I don't know.
Ooh.
And streams.
Pizza
And
sounds
streams.
good.
You get to watch streams.
Leftover pizza. But please hit that follow button if you did just drop in. We'll be back live again tomorrow at 2 p.m. We'd love to see you then. And stick around. We'll find out a way to pass the entire group off. We'll find somebody else really cool.
Yep.
We'll pass you off there, show some love in that chat, and we will look forward to seeing you back mañana. Have a good one, gang. We're out of here.
Adios.